more challenging context now we are facing at the moment. And to enhance the awareness of LIS professionals, to perform well in teaching, learning, research, and assessment of the lifelong learners that who we met every day in the university. Then the main objective of this activity is to enhance the awareness on the importance of academic literacy and innovative pedagogies or new pedagogies among academic libraries, which is comes under one of the major transformative initiatives that we need to consider, especially with the English language education, the value for undergraduates will also discuss more or less. So I especially need to remind this name of Professor Mrs. Pramola Rasol. I hope I pronounce it correctly, the director of Postgraduate Institute of English of the University of Sri Lanka, who is the pioneer who introduced this academic literacy to the state universities of the country. So I hope you will extract productive elements from this fruitful endeavor and make your professional contribution towards the betterment of the country. So with that slight introduction, I will next welcome and introduce you our resource person today, Dr. Mrs. M.D. M.U. Mahawat. Actually, she may be like Dr. Nadi. That's Dr. Nadi is a senior lecturer attached to the Department of Marketing Management, Faculty of Management Studies, Sabaragam University of Sri Lanka. So she obtained her PhD from University of Kelaniya in 2022 and MPhil in again University of Kelaniya 2013 and BA honors degree from University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. So before joined to the university system, she worked as an assistant teacher in some state universities, state schools, and also the Ruwanpura College of National Education of Sri Lanka. She also she's an actually English literacy practitioner with an interest in how to develop the academic literacy of undergraduates in English medium degree programs. Further, she is the activity coordinator of the English language development program in Faculty of Management of this university, Sabaragama University, and that was funded by the Higher Education Ministry and World Bank. So she extended the service as a trained peer assistant writer in 22 for the AHEAD project and trained academic literacy practitioner. And she also undergone some certificate courses in teaching in higher education, English training in national NIE. So her research interests are academic literacy in English medium degree programs, interdisciplinary collaboration of language lecturers and subject lecturers, content and language integrated learning, content-based. She also professionalized in Cambridge for CLIL, the content of language integrated learning. Also, content-based instruction, testing and evaluation, bilingual education, and American literature. So, I think she is the best person who also expert in this topic, who did research in the PhD level and beyond, also a practitioner at the moment. So she's the best resource person to conduct this valuable new topic to the LIS community. So I hope this will shed light on various aspects of librarians towards how we practice the academic literacy, what is academic literacy, and so on. Even the new pedagogies, and hopefully it will be fruitful in transformative LIS transformation of LIS context in a sustainable manner. So let's try to absorb what is there for us to get for our context. So without any further ado, I will cordially invite Dr. Nadima Harper to continue with this fruitful activity. So over to you, madam.
Thank you, Kusal. Thank you so much for your introduction and introduction for myself and the topic both. So we will continue the session. And before that, I just want to speak a few words. First, I would like to thank for giving me this opportunity. So I would like to thank for the Quality Assurance Cell, Professor Deepika, Mr. Kusal, and the Vice Chancellor and all the people who have organized this. And today, so I'm going to work on Mr. Kusal, I think you need to give me permission to share the screen, please.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So until he facilitates me, so let me speak a few words regarding academic literacy. So actually, this audience is new to me. Usually I meet on when I'm to talk about academic literacy, usually I meet the audience, maybe subject lecturers or language lecturers. So I feel like today now I'm meeting new group of audience, but I consider you all as subject lecturers. I don't know whether how far I am correct, but I think it'll be fine because then you all will, I think, facilitate me until the end, because now this concept of academic literacy is very useful for both subject lecturers and language lecturers, and it's a new concept to Sri Lanka, but still we have to understand the importance of it. So I consider you all as subject lecturers because I think you represent the discipline called library and information science. So then, so for you all being subject lecturers, this is part of your pedagogy, part of your teaching learning approach. So before I talk about innovative pedagogies, I need to introduce you the concept of academic literacy and then go on with the new trends and what I should introduce you today. So I'll be really appreciating if you can interact with me at any point. You can raise questions and ask for clarifications, no problem. And it will be great if you can, interact with me continuously. Otherwise, I feel like, I'm talking to an empty audience. So thank you for your understanding in advance. So today our topic is innovative pedagogies and academic literacy, having acknowledged Dr. Ramula Razul, my supervisor, plus the expert in academic literacy. So I would like to start the session. At the beginning, I want to show you like innovative pedagogies and academic literacy. And so this is regarding supporting English medium instruction, or you call it EMI, or undergraduates academic literacy development in Sri Lankan higher education. So at the beginning, before I go ahead with the slides, I would like to share a poem with you. This, of course, I have taken it from Sabaragama University Faculty of Management Studies. Hope you can see my screen. Can you? Hello? Can you see the poem now?
Yes, madam.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
okay.
we can.
Okay. So
Yes.
thank you for responding. It's so nice of you all. Now you can see that this I have found in 2014-2015 batch in Sabaragama Faculty of Management Studies. So they have a wall newspaper in front of 307 hall, the biggest hall that we have. So it is called Panhinda, and usually students showcase their creative skills through poetry, rhymes and certain arts, I guess. So this when I usually until the students come to the hall, I go there a few minutes early and I used to read that wall newspaper. So I come across, actually I came across this long time ago. So you can see how long it was. And this initiated me my doctoral study. And I think the concept of academic literacy and its need is very nicely wrapped up here. So let me first read it along with you. So it says, Aho Dukaki, Iraki, Titaki. අවුරුදු 13ක් සිංහලෙන් ඉගෙනගෙන කැම්පස් ආවේ කරුමෙටද වාසනාවටද කියලා වෙලාවකට හිතෙනවා. මව් භාෂාවෙන් ඉගෙනගත්ත සමහර සබ්ජෙක්ට්ස් ආයෙමත් කැම්පස් එකේදී සුද්දාස් ලැන්ග්වේජ් එකෙන් ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. ඒවා තේරුම් ගන්නත් පට අමාරුයි. කවදාවත් ඉගෙනගෙන නැති සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකක් එකපාරම ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් ඉගෙන ගන්න ගියාම කොහමද ආතල් එක? ඒ මදිවට පැයට කිලෝමීටර් 60ක ස්පීඩ් එකෙන් කියාගෙන යනකොට ඒව රෙකෝඩ් කරනවා මිස වෙන නම් කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ලියනවත් යා හිතා ගන්නවත් බෑ. වෙලාවකට ගිහිල්ලා මීට් වෙලා කියන්නත් හිතෙනවා ස්පීඩ් වැඩි අපිට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. ඒත් ඉතින් වැරද්ද අපේ වෙන්නේ නැති කියලා ඒකට බය හිතෙනවා. දැන් ඉතින් හොඳට ලියන කෙල්ලෙක්ගේ or කොල්ලෙක්ගේ I don't know, so you can see that they have cut off the papilla, right? So කෙල්ලෙක්ගේ note එක photocopy එකක් ගහගෙන තමයි exam එකට පාඩම් කරන්න වෙන්නේ. note කොකේ පිහිටයි. Actually this poem is anonymous. I don't know who has written because the name was not given. Maybe they are first years, they might be afraid of revealing their own names and all, so it was anonymous. So I always acknowledge the student for wrapping up their problem throughout, and this was the problem, this is the problem right now, and I think even in future this will be the problem. So we need to help students, so you can understand how relevant this poem is for our discussion today. So having said that, let me go for the presentation now. Supporting English medium instruction, undergraduates academic literacy development in Sri Lankan higher education. So we need to sort out few things when we say English medium instruction. English medium degree programs are there directly, from the beginning. They were identified as science, management, medicine, engineering. Usually management was not totally English medium at the very beginning, but now they all have transformed to English medium degree programs. Apart from that, we get arts, humanities, and social sciences, that we can see some English medium degree programs. Sometimes they are fully English medium, sometimes they are bilingual, and sometimes these programs, when we say bilingual, that is also very broad. Depending on their need, they call this name bilingual. Sometimes they use both the languages, or for some subjects only they use English medium. So things are such, it's a complicated situation, especially when it comes to like University of Kelaniya. I have identified that number of bilingual programs we come across there, and degree programs transitioning from mother tongue instruction to English medium instruction. For example, even in Sabaragamuwa social sciences faculty, now some degree programs are on the process of transitioning from mother tongue instruction, either Sinhala or Tamil, to fully English medium. Still in some universities like University of Colombo, like Faculty of Arts, so there are some degree programs, for example, like economics degree program. First year, it is offered in all three media, for example, like Sinhala medium, Tamil medium, and English medium. And from the second year onwards, all the degree programs have been conducted in English medium. So these are some practices that we can identify when we call English medium instruction. So English medium degree programs, these two terms I have been using here in the discussion interchangeably. So whenever you want for any clarification, you can ask. So few important highlights of English medium degree programs. This is crucial. Without knowing this, we face number of difficulties. I think this is the difficulty, this is the key issue that we need to address. So when we say English medium degree programs, there are two main components. One is the subject matter or the content. In your case, it might be the subject matter of library and information science. For a science lecture, it might be either chemistry or physics, or for a management lecture, it might be microeconomics or macroeconomics or principles of management. Any sort of subject matter is known as the content or the subject matter. So we identify it in an English medium degree program. So the other aspect is medium of instruction. In our case, it's English. In some other countries, it might be several languages. Now here, it's like basically at the very beginning, we have used either Tamil or Sinhala as our medium of instruction for certain degree programs. But you know, degree programs like vet sciences, veterinary sciences. So from the beginning, the day one, that is the only faculty that we get in Peradeniya. From the day one, it's English medium. So no changes have been occurred. So now we identified two main components or aspects in English medium degree programs, because today our focus is that. So these two are known as the subject matter and the medium of instruction. And the most important point I wanted to highlight is these two aspects are woven together tightly and they are inseparable. So the very moment we try to separate these two, all the problems occur. So we need to understand that these two aspects are inseparably woven together, tightly woven together. We need to consider these two aspects as one. So that's the main point I wanted to highlight. So then what is academic literacy in English medium degree programs? Now, this is the definition we have adapted from GE. Now you can see that this is very broad. I hope you will get the point. When it says academic literacy, it is not only the subject matter knowledge and the fluency of four language skills in the context, but also the ways of behaving, interacting, valuing, thinking, and believing in particular disciplinary contexts that are acceptable within specific groups of people. For example, if you get an undergrad into your economics community in the first year, you need to build up or mold that particular undergrad. By the time he or she reaches the fourth year, he or she has to behave, interact, value economics or thinking and believe as a particular economist. Okay, I mean in their own discipline, even the chemistry, even the physics, even library and information science, it should be. Now we have to then ask about whether we are in the right position to do this, or are we doing this? So whenever we get an undergrad, we need to direct him towards the fourth year, and at the end of that, they should reach academic literacy. Academic literacy means not only the subject knowledge, not only the library and information science knowledge, but not only the four language skills, may be very fluent in English, but still you need to identify whether they have reached academic literacy. When you take these two together inseparably, then you can produce such an undergraduate or a graduate at the end. Having said that, I need to say in brief, a novice student needs academic literacy to become a successful member of an academic community. A novice means a new student needs this academic literacy to become a member of the academic community. Now, we all are members of that particular disciplinary academic community. We are in the center. Usually, so when you reach a first class, or that is how we define it, like when you reach a first class, you reach, starting from the polar, you reach the center, but every student cannot reach the center. Okay, so and we have to have some sort of mechanism to help them to reach the center. Some, they still end up at the polar, so then you need to direct them towards the center. So academic literacy is an important outcome of English medium degree programs according to McKenna 2014. So before we go into detail, let's first sort out the basics. That's truly important. What are these basics? Now, when we say English language proficiency, academic literacy in English, are they the same or they are not the same? This is a common question that everyone can get in this moment. So why this lady talks about academic literacy in English on behalf of English language proficiency? Are they the same? That may be a very common and a fair enough question for you to ask right now. So first we need to identify or sort out these problematic areas. They are not the same. So these two are not the same. These two entities, English language proficiency and academic literacy in English, operate at two different levels in English medium degree programs. Now, if you see this, if you see this chart, we have adopted it from Walbrecht 2003. You can see that at the bottom of this dashed line, you can see the school education, right? And there, students come from the school education to the English medium degree programs after their A-levels. So this entry level, we need their English language proficiency. A certain level of English language proficiency should be there. So this is the point where English language proficiency works in English medium degree programs. And these four arrows indicate the 4 academic years. Towards the end, they should reach academic literacy. So if they have successfully completed the English medium degree program, at the end, they should achieve academic literacy in English. So when these 4 arrows, you can see that it is not only the subject matter knowledge, but also the 4 language proficiency skills. So these two are together, you have to reach academic literacy. So English language proficiency is important in the entry level. So I don't say that you don't need English language proficiency. You need English language proficiency at a certain stage at the entry level. So maybe like, for example, in the A level, we get that general English grade, so that at least an S if you can take at the entry level. So it gives you some sort of proficiency in English language. Then only you need to direct students towards academic literacy in English. Otherwise, without this entry-level qualification, it's very hard for them. But unfortunately, in Sri Lankan higher education, especially when they are enrolled into English medium degree programs, this is not, assessed or checked. So they can come with empty hands to English medium degree programs, but really students, not only students, both lecturers and students face number of difficulties. We don't have any support mechanism for our students to, support to develop the English language proficiency at that entry level. And it's too late also by that time, because they have spent around more than 1 year, like for no reason, until they get the university entrance. And then so they believe that soon after they get into English medium degree programs, their English language proficiency will be naturally developed, automatically developed. It will not happen. So then we need to understand that at the entry level, English language proficiency is important. After that, we don't talk about English language proficiency in English medium degree programs. We should talk about academic literacy. So hope that is clear to you. Now you can see that in these two, one side, in your right hand side, you get the English medium degree programs, which I have already explained you. In your left hand side, for example, you get the Sinhala and Tamil degree programs, the other two media of instruction that we get in the system. So there you get at the beginning, Sinhala or Tamil degree programs. So they, at the end of their degree program, they reach academic literacy in Sinhala or they reach academic literacy in Tamil. They are not expected to reach academic literacy in English because they study in their mother tongue, either in Sinhala or Tamil. So at the end, they might develop their English language proficiency because they are a support English support programs separately or deficit. In a very deficit manner means separate manner, they are offered to their degree program. They are English language proficiency courses. So they are not academic literacy in English courses. So you need to understand that this English language proficiency and academic literacy in English operates in two different locations. Now, if I say locations, because now in Sinhala medium and Tamil degree programs, towards the end of their degree program, they might achieve English language proficiency because of the support courses offered to their degrees. But for English medium degree program undergraduates, they need English language proficiency at the entry level. That's truly important. And at the end, they are expected to reach academic literacy in English. So we all have mixed up this. So that's the issue in the system. So we think like at the beginning also they need English language proficiency, at the end of also they need English language proficiency. It is not the English language proficiency at the end of the English medium degree programs. What you need is academic literacy in English. You need to be proficient enough in terms of your discipline. Maybe you should be a graduate who is a member of that as library and information science discipline. So that's what we need. There we cannot separate these two towards the end. So these two are tightly woven together. So I hope you understand, or it is clear for you, these two entities, English language proficiency and academic literacy in English. Today we are going to focus on academic literacy development in English. So academic literacy skills go beyond both language skills and content related skills. Sorry. So you can see our language skills, content related skills, and academic literacy skills the same. No, they are also not the same. So already we have learned that language skills are different from content related skills, and also academic literacy skills go beyond both these two. Now here, when we talk about English language skills, basic skills are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Apart from that, you get vocabulary and grammar. And content related skills are, they usually identified as analytical skills, interpretation skills, logical thinking skills, and mathematical skills. Even there are more than these. Even these analytical skills and interpretation skills, everything is applicable for English language skills. I agree with the point, but basically content related skills, when you focus on your own discipline, you talk about critical thinking skills, analytical skills, and all these higher order thinking skills. So these two are two different. So what we do is we try to, through our English support programs given for English medium degree programs, we try to develop their 4 skills separately, and we expect our students to effectively use them in their degree programs, which does not take place, unfortunately. So academic literacy skills go beyond both language skills and content related skills. So there you can see that academic literacy skills include, and not limited only for these, there are several skills. I have just, adapted some skills from Marshall and Weidman. So if I read one or two to you, interpret different text types for their style, structure, audience, purpose, and message in the original context, understand and produce academic language beyond the level of the sentence, understand and use a range of discipline-specific academic vocabulary in context, distinguish essential versus non-essential information, or fact versus opinion, or cause versus effect. Every skill should be developed in their particular discipline. So we don't separately, under academic literacy, we don't separately teach these things. So if you want to develop their understanding and producing academic language beyond the level of the sentence, you don't do it in a separate English language development course. You have to do it in your own, within your own discipline. That's the major feature in academic literacies. So now you can see that there is a combination of pie charts. For example, academic literacy, what it is and what it isn't. So I think that is also important. So you can see that English for academic purposes, EAP means English for academic purposes. ESP means English for specific purposes. General English means you talk about hello, how are you, what's your name, very general level, the conversational language, right? And we need to remember that circle sizes are not representative of relative importance or breadth. And globally, academic literacy is a new concept, complicated by how stakeholders have been defining it and approaching it or not. So we have been doing a study, and it was a series of workshops we have conducted for academics in Sri Lankan state universities, representative academics, for 1 month. So there we got the support, Dr. Romola Rasul got the support from 2 Tokyo University lecturers. They are originally from the USA and Canada. So that Mr. Daniel and Miss Vanessa. And apart from that, Amanda also helped us. So together we designed this. After having a long discussion, we have designed this. So you can see that the bigger academic literacy circle underneath. So everything is on that, right? So that mustard color or light orange color circle indicates academic literacy. But you can see that the general English is just, leans against it. It's just touched. It doesn't cross the academic literacy circle. So we understand that this is known as for example, A-level English, general English course that the students follow. So they do learn their day-to-day English language skills, and this is known as general English. That is important at the entry level, right? Into the English medium entry level. This is also important, and we acknowledge its importance. After that, we have heard about there are English language support courses for English medium degree programs also. But I don't know how, it varies in a range. Like sometimes they are general English courses, sometimes English for academic purposes, where you get the students to incorporate into academic writing styles. English for specific purposes, yes, I am attached to Faculty of Management Studies. So we have courses called Business English. So these are English for special purposes. So in a specific courses are related to that particular discipline, we are introducing them to students. And someone's mother tongue and its culture is also plays an important role in academic literacy. But you can see the blue circle, the second largest, it represents the subject or the discipline knowledge and skills. So you can see that it cross out everywhere. Now all these circles cross out in this small place. Like, if you can see that this is the small place where my cursor locates, is the place where you can talk about academic literacy in large. So you can see that it has the combination of everything: subject discipline knowledge, English for academic purposes, English for specific purposes. So all these three things, overlap here. So this is the right place that we can talk about academic literacy. But you know that more or less every circle contributes to academic literacy, and it sets the context. So major part comes for academic literacy from their subject or the discipline knowledge and skills. For example, for today's my audience, it's like library and information science academics. So then you can see your subject matter knowledge plays a major role in development of academic literacy. So having said that, now I need to talk about how we can, go ahead with subject benchmark statements, and where it is showcased or displayed in UGC website under quality assurance cell. So then they produce subject benchmarks. So there we need to think about subject benchmark statements when we talk about academic literacy. Now this arrow can be either the bottom, towards the bottom or towards the top. Either way is okay. So this, in this chart I have kept it in the down, because we have that the down, top down approach also. Subject benchmark statement you need to look for, and then you need to talk about the vision in your faculty or the department, the mission and the graduate profile, and then you can talk about academic literacy or English language communication. For some degree programs, they don't want to focus on academic literacy. For example, Sinhala medium degree programs or Tamil medium degree programs, they don't focus on English English academic literacy in English development. Instead of that, they focus on communication skills in English. So they are given some support programs in that way. So when you develop your curricula also, you need to think about what your needs. At the end of the academic, at the end of the degree program of your library and information science, what sort of a graduate you are expecting to produce? Whether they are good in academic literacy in English, or whether they are good in English communication, or whether they are good in both these aspects. Then accordingly, you need to think about the support, English support programs in your degree programs. That's how we need to see. Now, for example, now these are some I have taken from the subject benchmarks. This is related to chemistry. Now, in terms of their communication need, they talk about that they need to be, students at the end of the chemistry course, students need to use of titrimetry and gravimetry as traditional analytical methods, analysis of inorganic mixtures for simple cations and anions. So then all these things in terms of chemistry in English medium. So these things they should do. Towards the end, you can see report writing based on laboratory experiments, laboratory safety and good practices of handling chemical and laboratory glassware and instruments. And they need to talk about all these things in English medium. So you can see that highly discipline specific. And if I go to the next, and it says these skills are transferable skills, and everyone expect that these are transferable skills, and it's very hard to say that these are transferable skills, because it is not so. Very often you need to teach these skills within the discipline. So now this also talk about that, but I want to show you this library and information science. I think this is the main focus of your discipline. So in your subject benchmark statement, it was originally proposed in 2013 in page number 8. In that particular subject benchmark statement, they say 4.1.3 communication and language skills. You need language skills, you need communication skills, you need presentation and report preparation skills. These are the communication related and language related skills that you propose. At the end of your degree programs, your students should achieve this. Apart from that, you talk about intellectual skills like cognitive skills of critical thinking, analysis and synthesis, ability to easily learn new technology, and research skills. A balanced section of the following teaching and learning methods can be used. What? Courses designed to impart both theoretical and practical knowledge. So you can see that you at the towards the end you talk about research work, dissertation and publications. So usually we do them in English medium, as far as I know, even in your discipline. So you can understand how important these research skills, critical thinking skills, analytical skills and synthesizing. All these things we have to talk about under academic literacy, not under language skills, not about the English language proficiency. So you need to incorporate these skills into your English medium degree programs. Otherwise, simply teaching reading, writing, speaking, listening separately as a deficit courses, and when you talk about your discipline separately, you expect students to transfer these skills into your discipline, but it does not take place. That's why continuously we get complaints from students plus lecturers. Whenever I meet my lecturers in our faculty board, so they say our students cannot, write very well standard research papers or dissertations or theses. So they think that it should be developed in your own discipline. So these are not expected to transfer according to new research. Now here, where is the alignment? So you can see that the existing practices are such. You get the curriculum and assessment, general English, English for academic purposes or English for specific purposes, plus the co-curricula. Co-curricula means your library and information science. Apart from that, I don't know in your case, I don't think in Sabaragama we offer a library science degree, but in other universities there might be. So you need to think about the first year, second year, third year, fourth year English support programs that you get, or are offered from the DELT. So then what sort of courses are they? General English courses, or are they English for academic purposes courses, or English for specific purposes courses? And you need to see its alignment, whether they cater to your expectations. What are your expectations? As I have already shown you, library and information science expectations are so high that you need your students to, at the end of the degree program, you expect them to write well-developed theses and well-developed research skills, because you focus on a lot of publication towards the end. This is common to every degree program. So we need to question ourselves, what are the existing practices and what are expectations. So there is a huge gap in between these two. So what you can, to bridge these two gaps, the two ends, what you can do is you need to introduce, how can we develop academic literacy in English medium degree programs with a highly diverse student body in terms of English language proficiency at the entry level? This is the common question everyone asks from us. So we need to gap it through academic literacy courses, but everyone asks, now we know that the reality of Sri Lanka, even though our students are taught English language, that is because it's general English that we teach in the school system. And even in the A-level, we do develop their general English. But at the end, when they are taken into the universities, state universities, more or less now, almost all the degree programs, especially in science, management, engineering, maths. So all these, apart from a very few degree programs offered in humanities and social sciences, the rest of the degree programs are offered in English medium. So there is a huge gap. For your English medium degree programs, you need to focus on academic literacy development. For that, you need a certain standard level of English language proficiency. You cannot ask students to to get into that in empty hands, but that's how it happens. So every university has to take their own precautions, so support programs to develop their language proficiency. Otherwise students face such a difficulty. What happens is they might be okay or reach the expected level towards the end by the time they reach the fourth year, but unfortunately they may lose the class to their degree, because their whole performance is counted from the day one, from the first year onwards. So from the beginning they should be perfect to achieve the expected level of achievement. So that's an issue that we have identified. So to address this problem, we need to know about the existing English support programs of EMDPs and a bit of the theory related to academic literacy. So this is the structural arrangements of the English support programs in EMDPs. You might not be very familiar with this, but try to take a rough idea at least. So this was based on a seminal paper called Lee and Street's Academic Literacies Programs. So then if we talk about academic literacy, there are two understandings, philosophical understandings. One is autonomous and the other one is ideological. So usually we all are under autonomous practices from our childhood, from the school level. Everywhere we are taught under autonomous. So autonomous focus falls on cognitive approach, whereas ideological philosophy focuses on a social approach for academic literacy development. So these are two different, approaches: cognitive approach and social approach. Under cognitive approach autonomous, we have study skills model and academic socialization model. Under these two, we teach our students general English, English for academic purposes, or English for specific purposes. So these are the courses that we offer. Everywhere we can see that. Then you might be thinking, then English for academic purposes courses might be very useful for English medium students. They are useful. Of course, I also agree that they are useful. But the thing is, it's a mechanical, conversion of students' writing practices. It's not with an understanding that they do it. We simply introduce them a set of norms and we get them to practice them and train into that. But under ideological or the social approach, they talk about academic literacies model. So they, in the world level, it's like in the global level, mainstreaming academic literacy is the trend now. Because now in Sri Lanka, the problem is we study in the mother tongue during our school education. But the time we reach the university, we have to study in the second language or the foreign language or the linked language, whatever it is called, it's English. So then when you study a solid subject matter like physics, chemistry, management, engineering, library sciences in English medium, it's really a challenge for the student. So then they talk about this challenge and mainstreaming academic literacy. That means all these two things we need to identify as one thing. Mainstreaming means your mainstream, chemistry mainstream, physics mainstream, library science mainstream. So you need to talk about your support programs in terms of your mainstream, not as a separate general English course. I hope that you try to get the point that I try to make so far. So these are some of the features that we need to identify. Discrete courses, general English courses that we see, they are known as discrete, means separately for English medium degree programs. They are not mainstreamed. And whenever students cannot do it, now, for example, my subject lecturers, whenever they meet me, they say, Nadi, they cannot, they are not good in their English. So because of that, they don't know their management concepts. Because they don't know their English, they think that they don't know their principles of management. That is because in this autonomous or cognitive approach, we always make, in their failures, we make the student is responsible for this. And in the new approach, in the social approach, we never think so. We think the institution is responsible. So institution should have some sort of, mechanism to help or the support students. So they are known as mainstream courses. They are mainstreamed and institution is responsible. But from the beginning, we think student is responsible. That's why we give the remedial classes for them. Even in the school system, when the student is not good in the, in writing in English, what we do is we separately try to develop their English. The same thing we try to do in the universities also. So this is not the right approach. So always these courses are conducted only by the language lecturers and no support from the subject lecturers, and they don't know what they teach in under these language courses. But in social approach, these courses as English support programs for academic literacy development courses are conducted either by the subject lecturers or the language lecturers, or as a collaboration between these two lecturers. Usually now these language lecturers who teach in the support programs in English medium degree programs are now known as English literacy practitioners. And they focus their English language teaching to support their library science knowledge development. Everything is taught in it. Even though you teach some grammar points, they are practiced in the context of library science, like that. So it is anyway different from English for specific purposes. So English for academic purposes, this is known as academic literacy development. And there is no collaboration under autonomous, but we see that under ideological approach, there is a high collaboration between these two, subject lecturers and language lecturers. And there is an important point also known as power issues. Under autonomous, we have number of power issues. We have talked about this even in the University of Cambridge for example, Kaleidoscope Symposium. So, you know, the power issues are such in everywhere in the world. So subject lecturers are kept in a high position, whereas the language lecturers are kept in a low key, low profile. So they are identified as, you know, instructors or lecturers from the support programs. They are not identified as a mainstream lecturers. So this power issue highly affect the development of academic literacies. But in under academic literacy courses all over the world, there is a balanced power. So both the subject lecturers and language lecturers' identities are, you know, recognized in the system. So the collaboration is really important. Hope that is also clear to you. So if you can see this continuum, so you can see that in our system in Sri Lanka, if you look at this continuum, we are here. We either teach English as a second language or general English at the beginning. And we expect to reach mainstreaming academic literacy, because at the end of the library science and information degree programs, students should achieve their academic literacy. They need to become a member of the library and information science community, valid member, they need to behave like a library and information science member. So we need to think about it, whether do we really do it. And I think in an autonomous, in this continuum, you can see that we are starting from autonomous, but gradually we have to go through EAP and ESP, English for academic purposes and English for specific purposes, and gradually we need to reach mainstreaming. We cannot take a leap jump from general English to academic literacy. It's hard in our system. We need to have a transitional phase like English for academic purposes or English for specific purposes. And then as the third level, third step, we can focus on mainstreaming academic literacy. So I hope you get some of the things now I have discussed. Now, one of the findings in our doctoral degree was, like, we have interviewed 40 lecturers, including both subject lecturers, mainly the subject lecturers and the language lecturers. Everyone, like, you know, the majority academics complain and hold the view that low English language proficiency is the problem. That the moment that you say that the students' English is not good, just because of that they cannot do library science well, so that you are not talking about academic literacy. You try to separate these two. So when you start separating these two, you cannot develop academic literacy. And research proposes that there is no linear relationship between increased English proficiency and academic literacy. It's not like that. At the entry level, you need to have a certain proficiency. And after that, for academic literacy development, what you need is a concerted effort. Concerted effort means a long-term outcome with a broad approach. There will be 4 pillars that we need to talk about. These are the 4 pillars. You can see that the same chart I have earlier used. The school education is underneath. English medium degree programs are here. If you want to develop academic literacy at the end of their degree, you need to focus on all these 4 pillars. Equal weight should be given for the staff development, student development, curriculum development, and institutional development. So, but we understood and we have observed that very often it's only the student development. Whenever we get a grant, what we try to do is to develop students' English language proficiency. Now, this research says that there is no linear relationship between the students' developed English language proficiency and the academic literacy in English development. For example, those who are very fluent in English, then everyone should be able to achieve a first class. It doesn't happen because they don't know about academic literacy. So then not only student development, we need to equally pay attention for all these 4 pillars. Staff development is really important. Curriculum development and institution development are also equally important along with the student development. So this is something that we need to think of. And I think this is really important, and I want to go into details of these 4 developments. But before that, I feel like I need to ask if you have any clarifications in terms of this, in terms of this, what do you call, the theoretical part of academic literacy. So far, I have tried to develop that. So, or to introduce that. If you have any clarifications, any comment to make, it is very welcome. And then I will talk about the curriculum development and the staff development and the institutional development apart from the student development. And I plan to introduce you a very important concept called PO. That is also really important for us to know how to support students, along with the staff supervision to improve students' academic literacy. Anything to be asked? Hello. I have been like, just like rushing through, but I think you might have got the points. So anything to be asked, please?
So, Dr. Nadi, I need to clarify something.
Yes.
Because when it comes to the librarians, we can mainly divide it into 2 phases, as you mentioned at the very beginning, the teaching staff and the practicing staff.
Yes, true. Agree.
Yeah, same as the medical faculty. They have the professorial section and the practitioners in the hospital.
True.
So the pedagogy, the literacy part, I think directly associated with the teaching staff, isn't that?
You are right to a certain extent. We cannot exactly say that because now still I haven't talked about how pedagogical aspect come into this. So now, when it comes to pedagogy, teaching staff is the, the cream that it needs. The outcome of this innovative pedagogy helps. But the thing is, even the practicing staff also, they also need some sort of an understanding. At the end, towards the end of the session, I plan to show you how, global level universities like, for example, University of Leeds. There are so many, but I have taken University of Leeds for you to show how they have contributed to develop academic literacy, not only by the teaching staff, even from that the rest of the support staff who are to develop academic literacy. So we need to consider this concept or like this aspect as a responsibility of both these categories. I mean, in terms of library sciences, you can talk about these 2, or medical sciences, not only by these 2, but also by the subject lecturers plus the language lecturers. Now, there is a division between these 2, unfortunately. That's why it's very hard to do. We always think that I don't know about others, but in my faculty, always the subject lecturers think that I should develop my undergraduates English language proficiency. Then they think naturally they will be good in their subject matter knowledge, which is not okay at all. Theory rejects this. Theory refuses this. This is an outcome where we all can reach through a collaboration. That's what we can say. I mean, I hope I have answered your question.
Yes.
Thank you for the question. Okay. Any other clarification, please? It's important for us to discuss this, because otherwise I don't think simply my explaining won't work. If you want to do real things, I will give you a number of examples. Now already this concept has been introduced to several state universities. Now it has been practicing in Department of Physics, University of Colombo. I have done the consultancy and they have developed some courses for them. And then University of Kelaniya, Faculty of Science. And again, vet sciences in University of Peradeniya. They are the first to start this. And again, like we have conducted courses in Moratuwa, University of Moratuwa Business Faculty, University of Ruhuna, Faculty of Arts. We have introduced the concept. And for the Southeastern University also, we have introduced. And we have trained staff, academic staff, from all, selecting representative lecturers from all 16 or 17 state universities. So some universities, they have already initiated it. And in our university, my faculty, even though we have not used the term academic literacy, I have introduced the concept to my faculty members, and now we are practicing it into a certain extent. But still, I mean, with the next curriculum development process only, we can introduce the name. But usually we do some practices. I will talk about them later. So that's how it is. I think it's really important. Otherwise, simply teaching English separately won't work. Students do not know how to adopt it into their own context. Yes, please. Anything else? May I go ahead with the...
Yes, I think better than...
yes, okay. Excuse me. Yes. So then, now we have to talk about the curriculum development. So I talk about 4 main pillars. So one of these is the curriculum development. So English support courses in English medium degree programs, you can see in every university, every faculty, right? So these courses separately operate, and they're often offered or served by the Department of English Language Teaching, or DELS, or ELTUs earlier they are referred as. So all these courses are offered by these language lecturers. And unfortunately, there is the less involvement from the subject lecturers for this. So they think that these two should operate in 2 different levels in a deficit manner. Deficit means separate manner. And they think naturally these will be integrated, where it will not work. That's why every day we have the same problem. Everyone says students' English is not good. Because of that, they're not performing well in EMI or EMDPs. Okay, this common complaint comes because of that, unfortunate situation. So these are discrete courses, no courses at all sometimes for some degree programs. For example, Department of Physics, Faculty of Science, Colombo University, they don't have any English support programs into their degree programs. In the initial level, when the student, during their orientation, they are given some English introduction. Other than that, nothing. So no support courses for them. So sometimes there are students who are very weak in their language, and they come to the university to study about the chemistry, physics, microbiology, many science subjects, solid science subjects, where they find it extremely hard. So when it comes to writing, final year thesis writing, all these research skills will be affected now, since they don't have any academic literacy oriented courses. I mean, not even in the beginning level, the entry level, no support programs. So this is a national level problem that we have in the system. So every university, they have their own programs. For example, in my faculty, what we do is we conduct an intensive English program at the beginning for the entry level students to develop. So we have been doing it like with the grants of AHEAD. But now we have our own program, because now AHEAD is over. Now we need to have a sustainable approach for ourselves. Now, for example, we get a huge batch in comparison to like other batches, other degree programs in other faculties. We get around 500 odd batch. So then what we do is, we have designed an English intensive program at the beginning, and we get the support from the social sciences faculty English major students. We have trained these English major students I mean, they are faculty members also like Dr. Rohan and all. So who are the coordinators for those students? They train them as pupil English teachers. We call them pupil English teachers because not yet they have experience, but they are trained for that purpose at the end. So in their final year, they have an internship to be done. So what we do is we get the help to teach to our students general English at the beginning, at the entry level. And in term that they complete their internship, our students are also benefited. So that's how through an MOU we manage. So then we have our own resources. So from the beginning, we try to give them lot of English language exposure. That's how we try to develop at the beginning to increase their English language proficiency. And when we go to like assessment, often these are general English. You see that? You teach general English and you assess general English in the English medium degree programs I'm talking about. But at the end, you expect your students to write a high standard thesis or a dissertation. So you see the gap in between. So there is no collaboration between these support programs and the English medium degree program content. So these two should be aligned. Otherwise, we cannot complain students, since we come from the autonomous background. Always we, complain the student and we make the student the victim. So we need to have as an institution, we need to have a suggestion or some sort of a program to improve them. So maybe sometimes in some cases we get English for academic purposes and English for specific purposes, but they are still not mainstreamed. What do you mean by mainstreamed? Now, for example, I have told you that we have developed certain programs into certain universities. So, for example, I would like to highlight one example. So, in the Department of Physics, we have developed them some lesson materials. So, all the materials are taken from their, physics reference books. For example, thermodynamics. So, then they talk about thermodynamics. So, then we have to teach every point that to develop their English using thermodynamics, not like directly talking about like your general things, day-to-day things. Going beyond that, we have to take the discipline specific materials. That's how we need to improve their academic literacy. Otherwise, they will never transfer. How, if you talk about, if clauses separately in the English language program, that's all. They don't know how to, relate it to their thesis writing. But, we need if clauses very often when we develop hypothesis statements in the final year. So for that, we need to, that this is known as mainstreaming. So if you using if clauses, if you can ask them to develop hypothesis statements, then that will work. So you need to realize the big picture, why it is important for us to develop students' academic literacy on behalf of general English or English for academic purposes or English for specific purposes. You need to go beyond all these levels and reach the value of academic literacy. And these available courses may be oriented towards academic literacy development, but not specific about that. But now I have told you that we have presented even in the international level, we have presented. Now, in terms of the documents, we have prepared for University of California, Department of Physics, and we have done some international publications published by Routledge and Springer. So most of these publications, because some book chapters also along with these experiences, because this is how even in the global level they have the same problem. In Sri Lanka, it's like the mother tongue and the linked language problem, right? But when it comes to global level, in the UK, the USA, the Australia, every country in these global level developed countries, they get number of students from the Asian and African continents. So their mother tongues are totally different from English. So even though they ask for IELTS or TOEFL at the entry level, they have not developed, entry level qualification is there, but no academic literacy exposure. So they have number of academic literacy courses available online, and also like some practices. They have like physical courses. So they have to develop their academic literacy at the entry level, and they develop it towards the 4th year. So that's how they do. So this is a common problem for everywhere. For us, it's like the English language problem, because we start our degree programs in English medium after A levels in the university level. I mean, for them also in foreign countries, so their mother tongue is different, and they have the first generation, second generation, third generation problems. So by the third generation, they are okay. Due to migration, most of the Asians and Africans settle in these, English speaking countries. So they have that problem. So that this is how they have also overcome the problem. Having said that, curriculum development, this is the staff development. So now the second pillar, maybe language lecturers and content lecturers can be trained. That's really important. We have done it in our faculty. I mean, in a very systematic manner. Under the head grant, what we have got to do is, we got 20 subject lecturers. Now I'm attached to Faculty of Management Studies. So we got 20 subject lecturers trained for CLIL. CLIL means Content and Language Integrated Learning. I need to talk about innovative pedagogies today. So Content and Language Integrated Learning, or the CLIL qualification, means you will be trained how to teach library and information science using English in a very effective way. All the strategies are taught to them, and usually this is a global qualification, and this qualification is offered by the University of Cambridge. So the training is offered by certain private institutions called ACBT, or earlier the British Council did the training, but no more they offer the training, but they offer the final exam conducted by the University of Cambridge. So what we have got to do was, like, we got our 20 subject lecturers trained for these strategies, very well trained for about 1 month. And then we have got them to sit for the final exam conducted by the University of Cambridge. They have sent their representatives to our faculty in Sabaragamuwa, and we have got them to, we had to follow all the global standards that University of Cambridge expected. We had to send them photos of our location. During COVID it happened, but we got the teachers, lecturers to the faculty and conducted the exams in the faculty and got the results also. So they have all achieved the 4 levels. Some of them have achieved the highest level also, where we are very happy. Now I talked about some of the experiences, or like the first-hand experiences that we have conducted in our faculty as an example. So I thought sharing them will be useful, not to show off, right? So then now I told you, like, we get the help of the pupil teachers from our social sciences to train our first year undergrads by the time they get into the university. What we do is we couple these pupil teachers along with our subject lecturers. Senior lecturers were also there, probationary lecturers were also there. So then with the help of the subject lecturer, always both of these two collaborate together and teach to first year students. So like, it's like the language lecturer collaboration plus the subject lecturer collaboration. So the ideal situation in the innovative pedagogy. So these strategies are really important. I will share you some of them. If you are interested in, I will show you. Now, for example, actually our students, they don't know. Now, even I'm not like, looking down upon any other lecturers, but some lecturers are, we don't know when we say, what do you mean by analyze? What do you mean by critically analyze? What do you mean by evaluate? What do you mean by critically evaluate? So all these terms are known as, under academic literacy, we name them as directive words, right? So there is a big difference. The approach of the student's answer is quite different when we say critically analyze. Analyze has one approach, critically analyze has another approach. All these things we discuss under academic literacy, and the reference method, in-text citations, references, everything. I mean, these are like a new language, or like Greek to our students. They never do these things when they're in the school level. So that is the difference between the school level education and the state university level, I mean state or private, the university level education. So if I am to just to share one document with you, just to show you. Now, for example, this is one of the documents we prepared to our faculty members, and we have handed over among themselves. For example, now you can see, hope you can see the Word document. Can you? Hello, can you all see the document?
Yes.
All right, okay. Now here you can see the definition of analyze. Analyze means here actual meaning is needed to break into separate parts and discuss. Examine or interpret each part. First you need to break the things into parts and analyze. Look in depth each part using supportive argument should be there, evidence should be there, or for or against you need to provide evidence. How these interrelate to one another also should be shown. My students, I don't know about your students, but my students, they never know how to do this when they are given a question using the directive word analyze. So here students are being asked to provide comparisons in detail of the course and any possible effects and things under consideration has developed or happened. So wherever it is possible, need to give examples. This is especially true if the material offered has examples within it. So if you use a question using the word analyze, this should be the approach. But when it says critically analyze, the approach will be a bit different. If the term critically, now you can see critically analyze, if the term critically is prior to the term analyze, it tells students need to make suggestions as to possibly why or why not something may or may not in their own opinion be appropriate considering the issue or event being analyzed. When we give a question based on critically analyze, our students never get into suggestions. Always need to try to offer support to the findings or opinions. Now, this is one of the semester papers I have taken this question, for example. Critically analyze the extent to which foreign aid promotes economic development. So students finally, first they need to break it into parts and then they need to analyze. When the comparisons are needed, they need to make comparisons. And finally, they need to come up with suggestions. It takes them for an A+. Otherwise, they will end up either in a C or a C+, maximum a B. So this is the difference between analyze and critically analyze. These are known as directive words. So we have prepared this document and shared among ourselves with the workshop in our faculty. Then every lecturer will be aware, even the, not only the senior lecturers, but also the, newly joined lecturers, temporary and probationary lecturers. Everyone should be familiar with these. Otherwise, it's very hard to set a paper. So this is something very important. And there is another document I will quickly show you, if possible. It's like sorry about this. I mean, give me a minute. I will quickly share. This, of course, a very important document. So now if you can see, now we teach these things to our students, otherwise they don't know how to do it. That's why coherence, under coherence we do teach understanding the essay question. Now, for example, you can see this is one example, right? Imagine you are going to write a 3,000 word essay on the topics below. Don't worry if they are not your subject area. Identify the topic, restriction, aspect, and instruction of the questions. Refer to the presentation on understanding the task before you do this exercise. Once you have finished, check your answers at the end of this handout. Now, this is one thing. Now, one example, right? Maybe in the sociology, the Abortion Act should be amended in order to give adequate protection to the rights of the father. Critically discuss this statement. So then you need to understand the topic. What is the given topic? So here it is the Abortion Act. What is the restriction? No restriction, because critically discuss this statement. If they say like in terms of this particular book or philosophy you are to address this, then there is a restriction. Here no restriction. Aspects you need to focus are adequate protection to the rights of the father. Okay, and the instruction is critically discuss whether or not the act should be amended. My students, first what I take questions from microeconomics, macroeconomics, principles and management in my case in our faculty, for example, and I get the students to break it down into these parts. Otherwise, they don't know how to do it. For example, if it is finance and accounting, describe the role of ethics in the accounting profession with reference to some recent cases of ethical malpractice. Evaluate whether ethics should be an integral part of accountancy firms' policies. So there is a restriction with reference to some recent cases of ethical malpractice. So you can see that we need to identify the topic, the restriction, aspects, and the instruction. So it's quite difficult for a new students to do. Unless they are talking about this in their subject, within the subject discipline, they will never get this. So this training is really needed even for our, even for our lecturers plus the students. So the staff development is really important. If we can offer through the staff development centers for every temporary lecturer or every probationary lecturer, an introduction to academic literacy and the innovative pedagogy at the beginning. This CLIL approach, content and language integrated learning, no big things there. It's just the lack of knowledge. I mean, if you, before you start your subject matter, if you have written down or share the key terms, that is also one strategy that you can develop students, academic literacy. There are a number of things that you can do very easily, and it will develop both the lecturer and the student and academic literacy development in the faculty, in the department, in the university. So this staff development is really important, everyone to participate in this. And, we need to introduce to academic literacy oriented pedagogy through staff development centers. So both the language lecturers and content lecturers are needed. So we need to somehow do this. And we have conducted several programs in other staff development centers in other state universities, whereas we could not do any such thing, unfortunately, in our university yet. So I, along with Professor Ruan Deepika, the head of the coordinator, the director of the quality assurance, we try our level best to organize one and to introduce this concept through staff development centers, even to Sabaragamu University. Then every lecturer from the very beginning will be aware of academic literacy in English plus innovative pedagogies. So these pedagogical practices are really important, nothing big. So these some practical sessions we can have and introduce these, and we can share all the materials. And now we have master trainers in our faculty also along with me. And so we have 21 subject lecturers plus myself, 20 plus myself, that we have been identified as master trainers by the University of Cambridge. So, I mean, this human resource development is the key that we have to, really achieve. And apart from that, education-based, educational psychology, that is also really important. Otherwise, you don't know about different, student natures. Every student is not in the same manner that they learn in different manners. Usually I have been trained as an English language teacher at the very beginning by some of the American volunteers, American lecturers at the beginning of my career. So I have been trained for this, and I have earned some qualifications also from the NIE. So we are well-trained teachers at the beginning before we become lecturers. So education-based educational psychology was a must for us. Without knowing, some students, when they learn, their focus is towards their kinesthetic approach. So if we do not know about these things, it's hard to plan your lessons. So this education psychology is really important. Now in my age, now I don't think whoever talks about my physicality, that I don't get afraid or will be disturbed by that. But these students that we teach are in the prime of youth, in their 20s, early 20s. So then, I mean, the psychology matters a lot, especially when they learn a subject matter in English medium. English, we have English is very political in our country because we were a colonizer for a long time. So that mentality is still there. So we can have certain educational psychology based training programs at the beginning in our semesters or like our academic years to develop their personalities. That's really important, even in academic literacy development. Academic literacy development is the third large step. But at the beginning, we need to focus on, their general English language proficiency development. As according to statistics, most of our students are not reached the expected proficiency. There you can, organize English camps, for example. I'm an English camp teacher, trained English camp teacher, internationally trained English camp teacher. So I know how to, without harming their personality, we can get them to speak, we can get them to learn the language without knowing it. So number of interesting strategies are there. So then we can teach this innovative pedagogy even to our new lecturers through staff development. So these courses, introduction of these courses through staff development center is really important, and I propose it even in this workshop. So we will see what we can do. I mean, even in other universities, this should be the way. And the institutional development, I mean, as an institution, this is the third other pillar. It's like overall arrangement of academic literacy practices, structural arrangements of English language support courses. We need to think of them. Now, for example, in our faculty, we get business English courses. So they are English for specific purposes. Apart from that, we do have academic literacy practices. We have already introduced it into students. And with our previous curriculum development, we have introduced an academic writing course for certain degree programs. For example, Department of Marketing students in the second year first semester with as a 1 credit course, they have to learn throughout the semester. They write and develop academic essays in their own discipline about marketing practices, marketing related topics. So when we direct them step by step to develop one particular essay as a group, so they develop a lot. So this institutional development is also important to introduce academic literacy concept in their vision, mission, and graduate profile, and to raise awareness, encourage collaborations. I told you there is a power issue in between the language lecturers and subject lecturers. You need to minimize these power differentials between language lecturers and content lecturers by giving them the real knowledge that they needed and give them a lot of staff trainings and introduce new curricula, academic literacy oriented curricula. In terms of student development, we need to gradually get the students more from general English, EAP, ESP to academic literacy practices. Directly, we cannot introduce them academic literacy practices. It's too much for our students. Even though you are good in your English language proficiency, it's not easy for them to grasp the academic literacy practices. There's a huge gap in between the school level and the university level expectations. So we need to gradually bridge that. So what are the challenges and how can we address them? So we have already addressed them in certain cases. As I have told you earlier also, we need to address the power issue, encourage collaborations between language lecturers and content lecturers. So we can actually now, even in the curriculum development, we can get this support from the subject lecturers also, asking about their needs in terms of developing language courses. So then we can just focus these language support courses towards academic literacy development with the help of their particular, using the documents from their particular discipline, as I have highlighted, like in the physics department, one example was they have used a lot of thermodynamics references, documentary when they develop the course materials, right? And revised structural arrangements of English support courses. You know, what do you mean by structural arrangements of English support courses? I don't know about other faculties, but as far as I know now, in my faculty, all English courses are credited. Equal weight is given like for their subject matters, and they are counted for GPA. So people talk about them differently. Some say that the students are disadvantaged. Some say that students are advantaged. Anyway, what I have noticed was in my faculty, maybe because of that credit allocation, there is a high enthusiasm. Even for these English support courses, because they are counted for their GPA. That is one thing, one motivational factor. Existing mainstream curricula, also we can direct towards academic literacy development through the pedagogy plus the curriculum. So we need to address this in our curriculum development process. This is really important. Most of the time, these two operate, as I have told you at the beginning, these two entities operate in two different levels where there is no integration. That's so pathetic, and we need to come into one table and discuss and arrange this. And courses offered by DELT may align with academic literacy courses in the mainstream, maybe as prerequisites. If subject lecturers do not like to, introduce separate academic literacy courses, what you can do is you can get the expertise and train your academic staff, even with the pedagogy and some of the curriculum oriented academic literacy practices. Those will be really important and useful. We have trained several other university staff in terms of academic literacy. At the entry level, in the faculties departments may use a standard English test and group students as exempted and better or at risk. Now, for example, I know as a fact, in University of Colombo, in the Faculty of Arts, they usually they conduct an English proficiency test at the beginning, and they group students as at risk, better students, and some students are exempted, those who are very good in English. Other students, by the time they reach the 4th year, gradually they have to complete certain English support programs like level 1, level 2, like that. Once they reach the expected level only, they are the degrees offered to them. So some sort of mechanism should be there to develop the English language. But going beyond this, I need to share this knowledge also with you. Department of Physics wanted to develop an academic literacy test in the entry level, not in the first year. Usually they get a general course in the first year and the second year, but in the 3rd year, 4th year, they specialize in physics. So students will be specialized in physics. By the time they take physics students into the physics department, they wanted to conduct an academic literacy test. Internationally, there are academic literacy tests. So we had to follow the same approach and develop an academic literacy test to the department, and we have done so. And with those test marks, you can understand the level of the academic literacy of that particular student and take measures to develop them from there onwards. So these are really important points that we need to think of. In Sri Lanka, these are not very popular yet, but all over it's very popular and there is a high demand. Exempted students can be directed to academic literacy courses. Better students can be directed to academic English courses. And at-risk students can be directed to general English courses. So gradually you can develop them. With prerequisites of general English or academic English, at-risk and better students can gradually be directed to academic English courses stepwise. Gradually you need to take them. Otherwise it's too hard for students. So these are the references I base my discussion. So I hope I have summarized most of the things. I have certain other things to share, but before that we can have a Q&A session, and I can show you how University of Leeds their library staff to develop academic literacy. So that is also one thing that I try to discuss today. So anything else to be asked? And I want to talk about the PO concept also today. just to introduce it. Yes. Anything?
So,
Hello,
Ratnadi,
are you there or no one is there? Or like what?
yes,
Hello,
yes,
everyone.
I'm
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Actually, I'd like to know whether there is any, what are the challenges that major challenges you identified by your experience once they are going to adapt it to embed to the live stream. I mean, we
Yes,
also
main.
have the LIS teaching, especially in Kelaniya University, we conduct it in single medium, but in Colombo University, conduct in English medium.
Right.
So once
So
you may have experience while transforming this language, teaching language and
yes,
teaching methods
yes,
to
true.
promote the academic literacy.
Literacy.
So
Yeah.
what could be the major drawbacks, barriers? As you mentioned, the psychological barriers are could be there.
Yes.
And is there anything that we need to
Yes,
consider?
Usar. Yes, thank you for raising the question. Actually, we have identified number of challenges. The first challenge we have identified was the unawareness of the concept of academic literacy. So because they don't know about the concept, what they try to do is always they want to separate these two major aspects. When we talk about academic literacy, we never separate these two concepts. We put them together and focus on that and we discuss. But what, when you are not aware of the academic literacy concept, what you do is you try to separate these two and then try to develop English language proficiency of students and expects them to, develop the academic literacy naturally, where it never happens. It very rarely it happens because there are inborn students who are very knowledgeable and intellectual, so they might, that's why even in our system, now you just think about our system, we throw the students into the deep end of the water when they come to English medium without any support. Some students swim, some students what they do is like they are drowned, so what, we no help somehow or other. I mean, we need to have a support program for this. So the first challenge is the unawareness of the concept. Because of that unawareness, I mean, rather than the students, we need to talk about the unawareness of the concept about the academic staff in terms of the academic staff plus the administrative staff. I mean, that's why Professor Ruan Deepika, as far as I can remember, she has organized this workshop we already had in Sabaragamo for all the faculty deans, heads of the departments, vice chancellors, and all the administrative academic staff, because they are the decision makers of the system. If they are not aware of this concept, it's very hard to pass it down to the navigators, the academics, the subject lecturers, and the language lecturers. So it's really important to, overcome this particular first challenge, that is the being aware about the concept. So that is one challenge we have identified. The second most important challenge we have identified was practically when we implement them, there are power issues. Power issues in the sense you might not take it very serious, but it's a very serious issue because power means identity. So always identity is related to power, right? Now I, as an English lecturer, I have my own identity, and when I'm not recognized in the system, so it's a big issue, psychological issue for a lecturer. So then even in foreign countries, what happens is subject lecturers, the power issue in between the subject lecturers and the language lecturers in the similar manner in Sri Lanka. But when it comes to foreign context, most of the time this collaboration can be seen and it is identified and accepted. And in Sri Lanka specifically, going against the trend, we have identified that there is a natural resistance from the language lecturers, because they think one thing is obviously they are packed and loaded with lot of work. So when we talk about academic literacy, they think really this is a challenge for them. So they are reluctant to accept this academic literacy practices into their system. That's again another challenge. And since we need staff training, and it's very hard to get the lecturers trained and introduce this concept through the staff development centers. So if we can do it through the staff development centers, then most of the challenges will be like minimized. So that is also there. And when we get a curriculum revision, we need to talk about academic literacy concept in the vision, mission, and the graduate profiles. Plus we can introduce certain curricula in terms of academic literacy. There are online courses a lot, and I will show you some from the University of Leeds also, and University of Sheffield. So most of the universities, they offer them online. So these are some of the challenges that we cannot do it here because there is lack of support and unawareness and the workload, practical issues, and practically they do not like to, subject lecturers do not like to take the support from the language lecturers. Language lecturers think that they are overloaded with the work. So these attitudes, many challenges we come across. And one of the biggest barriers was they do not know how to differentiate English language proficiency and academic literacy in English in terms of English medium degree programs. So it's a problem. So always they mix up these two. They think just because we improve students' English, students will be good in their academic literacy in English also, which is not true. So these are misconceptions that we see. These are the challenges. Thank you, Kusal, for raising the question. Any other clarification, please?
So,
Yes. If you do not have any other clarifications, I would like to show you how
even in the Sabaragam University library, we plan to initiate information literacy course, which is NVQ level 5, as I remember, and to the CODL.
Right.
So even for these embedded courses, so those are considered as embedded courses parallel with the faculty teaching and learning, because a student support from the perspective of information literacy. That the major part is conducted, but librarians can do this, the major part, major component. I think even the academic pedagogy literacy touch can be given, or academic literacy can also be associated with that, I think now.
Yes, you can. You can. I mean, these courses are very useful for our students. Now, for example, now these are the areas that they discuss. Now, if I can show you University of Leeds, that thing, let me show you. Give me a minute. So I want to show you how they have planned academic literacy courses for these universities. Now, they are online courses, but still they are very useful. I hope you can see my screen where I have shared. Can you see academic skills assignments? This is their library website. I have taken it from the library website. And you can see that academics here.
Academic writing component is in that information literacy as well.
Okay.
The plagiarism, similarity detection.
Right. Okay. So now when we say academic writing, it is little bit different from academic literacy. In academic writing development also, you used materials, general materials. For example, if I want to talk about artificial intelligence, then you take some related, artificial intelligence related documents, general documents. But when I say that I need to talk about if clauses in terms of thermodynamics in physics, so that's it's very specific. You draw the materials from the directly from the discipline. So that is the difference between academic writing and academic literacy. So always you base your every grammar teaching, every vocabulary teaching, every skill development into reading, writing, speaking, listening into the disciplinary context. So that is the biggest difference. Now you can see, as I have told you, University of Leeds library website. So they separately have, academic skills development support programs shown here. So you can see how library staff can help them. And the assignments also, how to write assignments. Skills development at university, first year separately, second year separately, final year, even in the master's level, postgraduate level also, academic literacy is very much related, even for the staff. So tips for submitting their research project, lot of things are shown here. So students can self access these and self study. Now these are the things that they have selected. All these topics are taken from academic literacy, academic integrity and plagiarism, academic writing, critical thinking, how to develop critical thinking, digital capabilities, employability, maths and statistics, note making, reading, referencing, revision and exam, searching for information, time management. All these things have been discussed under academic skills. So these are really important aspects that as librarians or the library staff, you can think of implementing. If I show you one point here, referencing. Now, if we go into details, you can see how referencing is introduced in their sessions.
Madam, here other than the employability and time management, so we have embedded that almost all the content into our information literacy for lifelong learners.
Okay, that's really important, Kusal, really important. So now Leeds referencing styles, so you can see that other referencing styles are introduced. Now in our faculty, it's APA. When I was an undergrad, it was MLA. So all the referencing styles, referencing guides are given here. Everything is separately. Find your school's referencing style. That means your faculty specific referencing guide. Referencing explained, referencing made simple tutorial, in-text citations, references separately, how to give them, periodicals, journals, everything is in detail given. So all these things are really important. I just wanted you to show you this, but you can take an idea when you go through this. And even if you, now even assignment writing. Now, assignment writing is a problem for my students. I don't know about your students. My students, they don't know how to write an annotated bibliography. They don't know how to write particularly their dissertation, essay writing, how to incorporate the given feedback from their lecturers, how to do group work, how to make a task sheet. Nothing is known to them. Everything should be now. That's why we need to have innovative pedagogy to make these implicit things explicit. I mean, lecturers are not aware of this. They think that in the university level, students will naturally grasp them. It is not so. They need help. Except for a very few group of students, others will be nowhere. So we have to directly teach them how to do reflective writing, report writing, presentations, how to do presentations, editing and proofreading. These are self-oriented skills that they need to develop. So when we plan our curricula, we need to focus on all these areas. Otherwise, students will be really, in a pathetic situation. Along with this, I just want to show you or introduce you the concept called program, because I think that also will be useful for you. Now, for example, PO means PAW, okay? PAW, peer assistant writers. First, I will introduce you the concept PAW, peer assistant writers. So in our faculty, we have introduced this concept, and you know, this is an internationally known concept. Every university, they have this, and like, you know, we have presented internationally also in terms of PO, and this concept is really important because we have lack of human resources. Now, when we talk about academic literacy development, now you can see that lot of training is needed and a lot of human resources development is needed. But we don't have enough human resources in our faculties, in our universities. I mean, usually it is very rare in our universities. So what we can do is we can train peer assistant writers. Now, I mean, what do you mean by training them? Now, this is an international training. We have got this training from 4 international lecturers from the Tokyo University and some other USA universities. So they have trained us first, and they have introduced this concept for us. So then we could easily introduce and, you know, practice the concept in our faculty. So let me share the screen and show you the concept. Very briefly, I will introduce it to you. Hope you can see my screen. Can you? Can you see supporting students with the tutoring center?
Yes.
Yes. So these are the exact slides. So we were trained by Daniel Sharp, Amanda Tomahawk, Vanazaman, and Romola Razul. I was also part of the group. So now we have already implemented this concept in our faculty. Now, for example, I mean, we have introduced them. What do you mean by tutoring? What is tutoring? Now, PO means peer assistant writers. So they are tutors, act as support for teachers and learners. So we wanted some of the very, you know, talented students in academic literacy to be trained as peer assistant writers. So what we have done was, from our faculty, for example, I'm talking about it in terms of my faculty, then it's easy for everyone to understand the concept. So we have identified, we have 2 business English courses in the first year, 2 semesters, business English 1 in the first semester, business English 2 in the second semester. So after students have come to our university, after the first semester, they have to face the first year semester exams. So from them, we have identified students who have got A pluses for business English 1. So usually we have, our faculty offers 7-degree programs: finance and accountancy, banking and insurance, marketing, business, eco-business management, tourism and hospitality. So this is a business English 1 and 2 are common courses for all these 7-degree programs. So with at the end of their first year, first semester, the highest scored students with A pluses we have selected. So then initially we have got around 16 from all 7-degree programs, but every 16 cannot, like every student could not continue the training due to their personal issues. So we have trained, finally we have fully trained 12 posts in our faculty. So we have a pool. So every semester when we get, like not every semester, every academic year when we get a new group, we identify another group of posts and train them as posts. So then we, in the international level, they are paid. But in our context, we cannot pay. You understand our context very well in Sri Lanka. So what we have organized after discussing this concept with the dean and the heads and the faculty, what we have introduced was, now we train these posts as peer assistant writers, and at the end of the 4th year, when they graduate and they leave the university, we give them a very valid certificate saying that they have contributed as tutors. support academic staff there, like they are fully trained as tutors. So the expectation is to help make better students, learners, writers, thinkers, not just better grades. That's one of the goals, as you can see. And to empower students to be able to complete work on their own. Now, our students, they don't know about how to write assignments, and it's not the on behalf of the student, these posts do not write the assignment. They just talk to them and then they guide them how to do it. Now, for example, now here, tutor versus teacher, we give all the ethical practices. We have we have peer tutoring in two ways internationally. One is synchronically and asynchronous approach, like synchronous and asynchronous. Asynchronous means through online. During COVID, we have started this, so we have started it as asynchronous, as an online program. So there are a number of ethics that they have to follow. Always a lecturer should be there while a PO is conducting their session. And every session will be video recorded. Both the students, the peer and the student, should switch on their videos, and a lot of ethical practices are there. So with the presence of a lecturer, they have to do it. And then they can share the screen and they can show their assignment question, and they will talk about these directive words, and they have been trained fully for this purpose. They know how to do referencing. They are still in the second semester. You can understand now they are in the second semester, because we have been doing it for about 2 years. So now we have a bigger pool also, pool of PO. So they always help students to develop their, all assignments, academic literacy oriented practices. Now, after COVID, we have taken them into the university physically. So there, what we have done is, like, we have a separate language center in our faculty, a language lab, and some area to work with. So they are in the presence of a lecturer. Now they do this, PO program we conduct physically. So it's a synchronous face-to-face program. So then, in terms of Sri Lanka, even we have presented regarding this internationally, we had some problems because, like, we have several our own case-specific, challenges, like ragging and putting, girls and boys together. And, like, our students' attitudes are such that they do not like to learn from their own students sometimes, or like their juniors or seniors. Number of issues were there. So very carefully we handled all these problems, and then we have implemented the program. So this is like a fully fledged program. It takes a separate session, but I just wanted to show you and introduce you the peer assistant writers. So challenges in the Sri Lankan context, we have socio-economic dynamics, power dynamics, and different expectations of students. And benefits, there are a number of benefits, as you can see: targeted and individual support, ability to discover student needs, connection to students, student confidence when paired with teacher and with teacher feedback. So these posts can direct my students, weaker students, to incorporate the feedback given by the lecturer. Subject lecturers, of course, they are not trained for this purpose. They simply underline and they put the question mark. Now we need to learn the art of giving feedback also. Then these students' posts are helping students to incorporate their feedback. So these are the things I just wanted to share, and introduce the PO concept also for your benefit if you all are interested in. So if you have anything to be asked, you can now come up with your clarifications, please.
So once I listen to this, the thing that you mentioned earlier, so we have initiated Research Cube in the SUSL library. And the Research Cube is there for support students. We welcome students individual basis or on group basis, and we give separate time for them, and we go through, we sit together when going through their academic writing, the how these citations have been done.
Yes.
So the page setting, page arrangements,
Yeah.
and even from the content. For example, I am specialized in environmental sciences, so students from zoology, natural sciences, I can simply cater them. Then from
Yeah.
even from my second degree is from information management. So management students are also I can cater them.
Yes.
So the librarians, they are specialized in their own subjects.
Yes.
So subject librarians are there. Through the research queue, we welcome them and support them to get their thesis success.
Okay.
So
Similar
what you
concept
mentioned,
to, I mean, similar to
similar
our core
concepts.
program that you have introduced. I mean, you might not know that this is an internationally recognized concept. And this is like we always advise students, because they are undergraduates, we get the presence of a lecturer. Otherwise, if they are postgraduate students, you don't need any sort of a presence of a lecturer there, because they are considered adults. Due to certain ethical issues in our country, we get the presence of a lecturer there. And everything is video recorded, and we have the video recorded versions also with us. At any time we can share and show you how they do it. There is a particular procedure that they have to follow. So it goes up to maximum 30 minutes. We do not allow undergraduates to go more than that. So the questions, that there is a set of questions that they need to ask from the student. I mean, the student in the sense the other colleague. And this concept is similar to Kuppy concept in the universities, but this is more systematic and very much, structured. So there is no loop for them to like go against these ethical practices. So with the keeping them within the ethics, we wanted them to like get their help. So now for the first session was done for them by our faculty librarian, Mr. Ratnayaka. He has done a very good session for our post regarding information search. How to use search engines to search for information, research papers. Now they're familiar with everything. How to search for research papers, books, references, and everything. And apart from that, now when my students, like, even we can get this help for the fourth year students. Still they are in the second year, but the fourth year students are not willing to take their support, about the subculture in Sri Lankan state universities, maybe because of that. But otherwise they can guide them. I mean, how to form the research questions, how to form hypothesis statements. Still they are in the second year, second semester. How to form an academic essay, how to do a systematic literature review by looking at, we introduce them the concept of Excel sheet, and whatever they read, borrowing from the library, we limit now for undergraduate level, we ask them maximum to go for a 5 research papers. We, as a training, we have got them to read only 2 research papers. So how to report those information into one Excel sheet, and how to write their literature review. So these are really useful. And I don't know if we can implement this even in our, in the whole faculty system, department level. So a lot of problems we face right now can easily overcome, actually. So my suggestion is actually to implement these programs to staff development center to our lecturers, newly recruited lecturers plus the senior lecturers. So annually they will be developed and introduce this concept in the faculty wise or department wise. So these are really important. Some of the examples I shared because of that. Nice to hear regarding your proposal, Kusal, in your subject. And I think, of course, you can implement them and take them ahead, and we can give the necessary support like theoretical knowledge and everything.
Yes, at the moment we have recorded some sessions that we conducted for the medical faculty and other social sciences and several faculties, how we could do these searching techniques, avoid plagiarism, problem, starting from a research problem and ended up with methodologies, the research onion and everything. So on the research onion, we recorded them and keep in the YouTube channel of the official YouTube channel of the library.
Right.
So
Okay.
once the student need, we simply ask them to go through the video and then talk with us for further clarification.
Yes, yes. Only
And we
yes.
also
Now, after doing undergoing that session, students may not know how to adopt it into their own research. So that guidance you can give through a face-to-face session synchronously,
yes.
and that will be quite at that level that it will be very useful. So I think we have to, and rather than blaming students for plagiarism, of course we can direct them to overcome this situation, and guide them how to avoid plagiarism. Now we do all this teaching is done for 4 plus academic, under academic writing course also we do it in the second year. So like that, gradually we need to do all these things. In between we need to organize things like English camps for our students. It will give them a lot of mental satisfaction and to develop their personality, the confidence and
soft
everything.
skills.
Soft skills development focused, yes. So those things can be done. I think I can act as a, I mean, by being in Sabaragamuwa, I think I can act as a resource person to train the necessary human resources, and then in their own departments and faculties we can, and this knowledge should be shared, I guess. So if there isn't any other further clarifications, I think we can call it a day, Mr. Kusal, right?
Yes, madam. Yeah, when if I reach, because and I need the privileges to populate this video recording, even this recording through our YouTube channel, is if it is okay, then
No
people
problem.
will leisurely go through it
Yeah.
and bring us more discussion to the forum. Sometimes in future, I think separate track for the library related conferences, there could be a separate track for innovative pedagogies and literacy, academic literacy. I think it will probably end up, I mean, started up like that in
Yes,
future.
true.
Now the AI and quality assurance, we from the Sabargama University, we brought the quality assurance concept to the front and embedded it into several conferences, LIS conferences.
Yes.
Now everyone using it. Now
Yeah,
people
true.
are submitting it to do research on that quality assurance.
Yes.
So similarly, I think we could get this topic also into the discussion.
Yes. And I think it's really important to popularize the concept, because most I told you, as I have told you earlier also, the biggest challenge is the unawareness of the concept. So if we can introduce it in the state universities, I mean, Dr. Romola and myself together, we go to every state university on invitation and we conduct the sessions and make them aware of the fact. And in the same way, I always longing to do it for our staff development center. Still we could not do it. I mean, I need to talk to Professor Vandipika more, and through with the help of her we can introduce the concept to staff development center, where you can directly address the lecturers in the academics in the system. So if you can go along with that for several years, like every lecturer will be trained with this innovative pedagogies in terms of academic literacy, because now almost all the degree programs are converted to English medium except for very few. So that is one thing. And before end up our session, I would like to thank especially to Mr. Kusal for inviting me to conduct the session, and also to the quality assurance cell director, Professor Vandipika, and all the rest of the organizers who have arranged this. And for me, this was a new experience, because I never thought that this will be this useful for the librarians and that library community. But I have learned a lot, because before I come to do this presentation, I had to read a lot related to academic literacy along with the library and information science. So I have understood there are so many avenues that we can talk about, and we can do such a lot to develop our students and the academic community. So thank you for giving me this opportunity again, and I wish you all the best of luck. And myself and Dr. Ramola Razul, Director PGIE, we two together, she was my PhD supervisor, and still we do international publications as colleagues, plus we conduct workshops all over the country. So thank you so much. It's nice speaking to you all. You can reach me at any any mode, like over the phone or like through email. So thank you, Kusal. Thank you very much, everyone.
Dr. Nadi, thank you so much. I'm sorry that I was, though I am online, I was busy and I was engaged with some other things, very important matters in my duties. So anyway, it is really nice to meet you and to have this session. I think very important for our library staff or the academics.
Thank you,
especially we are planning in future to
Okay.
have this information literacy subject for the students and for the university. So I think the message that what you have given almost very important.
Thank you.
So
Thank
this,
you.
yeah.
Thank
So this session, okay, welcome. So I welcome you, and really it is. Thank you so much for your participation, and you have done a very good.
Thank you, Ms.
contribution to
Nisari.
the
Thank you so
society.
much.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, thank you so much, Nadi. Okay.
Thank you.
And at the same time, I cordially invite our librarian, Nisari Madam, for present this token of appreciation in digital form, and later I will take this
Thank you.
to the faculty and give it to you.
Thank you so much. It's so kind of you. It's so kind of you. Thank you.
Wish you
So-
all the best.
So then let me keep the concluding remark of today's session. Actually, this session was taken place for the second time from this university, but this time it is specially oriented towards the awareness of librarians in Sri Lanka, who to introduce the concept of academic literacy and innovative pedagogies. The forum is now open. Anyone can question, anyone can test it, anyone can do research on it, anyone can contact the key resource persons. We have two key resource persons in Sri Lanka, Dr. Nadi and her supervisor, Professor Rasul, right?
Yes, Dr. Ramala Razul.
Rasul. So we are fortunate to have you two in our corner. So I think by accepting our quick invitation, and then later on, I didn't bother Dr. Nadi so much, but she did everything, and finally present this very much interesting and important and applicable, and probably mostly needed concept for the future high education sector of Sri Lanka. So we get aware about that now, and thanks to our key resource person, Dr. Nadi Mahata. And
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much. So
With
we'll
all-
make it.
so with all these compliments and acknowledgement, I like to conclude this session and wish you all the best of your future endeavors as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kusal. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Was a strong motivation for me. Thank you so much. All the best for you all. So.
And at the same time, I like to extend my similar gratitude, sincere gratitude to the librarian, Ms. Nesuri, Professor Pedagogies University of Sri Lanka, then Professor Ruwan Deepika, Director of CQA and her staff, Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Udaya Ratnayaka, always is behind with all these endeavors. Thank you to the Vice Chancellor and all the university staff, especially my colleague Chala and all the library staff to make this event successful. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. See you later. Bye-bye.